what we're going to do today is Tess, who is the programmer for our student information system that actually designed this early warning system. She's going to give a demo and do a little discussion on the development of the system, and I'm going to introduce it with a little research that supports why we're doing what we're doing. And we all know that there are many reasons that students step out of college, and most of these reasons we really don't have that much control over. And they include things like family problems, personal issues, financial concerns. However, what we do have influence over, though, is our institutional commitment to enhancing our relationship with them. And one of the ways that we enhance our relationship with them is through an early warning system. And you can turn to a lot of the research literature. The Journal of College Student Retention is a really good resource for case studies on using early warning systems that promote student success and persistence. You can certainly turn to Tito's model of student retention that correlates engagement with retention. But certainly one of the things that we know for sure that the research does show is the more you intervene early, not later, you will have an impact on that student's success. So several years ago, we were thinking 2007, we decided that we needed to move our participation warning notices from paper to electronic, and we decided then to develop a system to actually engage students early on when we see that they're not doing what they should be doing. So this is a locally developed system. It's not a third-party system. And what it does is it captures the attendance and the participation and the progress of the students. So faculty can go into the electronic system and comment on how the student is doing. And what it does is it triggers an intervention and a referral to our support services. And we have a very healthy, robust support service system at the college. So when the student misses class the first 3 weeks and you start to notice they're dropping off, what the faculty member can do is go in to their roster, look at the student, make a comment. That student will receive the message. In addition, though, that message goes to the academic dean. It goes to functional offices like the registrar. It goes to special areas like athletics. EOP counselors get it. I get it because I oversee the academic recovery students. Residence Life gets it. So all of these people across the campus get this message that the student is dropping off the radar or not participating. So then everybody comes together and has that opportunity to intervene and outreach with the student. And the outreach kind of depends on what their role is. For me, when I have my academic recovery kids, which are students that are at risk, I call them in, I talk to them. So then I can shepherd them to other resources to support them. The residence hall directors go to the students and talk to them about their missed classes. So you have a whole network of intervention which is triggered just by using the system. The cost of it was certainly the time and the expertise that Tess needed to put into developing it. But I would say the benefit not only is moving the dial on persistence, but it was actually the discussion on student retention that the campus community had and continues to have. Because initially when we ushered this in, we would get feedback that, well, I don't take attendance, and I don't feel that we should take attendance, and students are in college and they should be able to be responsible and accountable, and certainly that's all true. But we had to have a discussion as a campus about who we are, what are our students like, and what is our mission. And at SUNY Canton, our mission is opportunity. And our students are first-generation students. 44%, almost 50%, we're just ticking up there, are students for the first time. They don't have anybody else in front of them. Plus, we have a significant EOP population, a TRIO population, and those students need that extra support. So, you know, arguing about should I, shouldn't I, is really not as relevant to what should we be doing as a college, what do we believe in, and it is supporting the students once we admit them. So and we continue to have those conversations, and what they result in is the refinement of the process. Our retention committee, which is a faculty-centered governance committee, actually takes up this issue of our early warning system. and they work on ways to improve the user friendliness. They work on ways to improve the message and the outreach to the students. So whether or not you believe in taking attendance in your class really gets lost in the conversation about how can we all come together and improve our processes to support our students. So I really think that's been the heart and the goal of the system. So I am going to give it to Tess, who will actually show you the system, so what I said will make a little more sense.
I got my own.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us in our session. I might need to drop this sometime. I might need two hands. So, as Molly said, our MTS system, that's what our local early warning system is called. It's short for Moving Towards Success. Our MTS system is automated, which means it's totally online. So what happens is the faculty logs into our Banner self-service system, because we're a Banner campus, and our Banner self-service system is nicknamed UCAN Web. So why don't we start with that? So this is the homepage of our self-service system. So what the faculty does is they log in by clicking on the Enter Secure Area link. And here they input their ID and PIN. So let me input a sample ID. And that faculty's PIN. So from the main menu, the faculty will go to their menu, which is the faculty and advisors. And they go on to the third link called Moving Towards Success, MTS. And we don't have data for fall yet. So let's go back a little. Let's go to spring. So we go to spring 2016. And let's pick, at this point, a pull-down list will show the faculty all the classes that he is teaching for that semester. So let's pick the second class. Okay. To those of you who are Banner campuses, the process is kind of similar to your grade entry. You start off selecting a term, then you select your class, and then out comes a roster, like this. It's just that, of course, the information shown is slightly different, but the principle is the same. This was so it wouldn't be so hard for faculty to get acclimatized to it. That was part of the reasoning for it. So let's pick one of the students to process MTS on. So let's pick the third student, say John Doe. So before I input any information, the most important field here is what's called the course performance action. This is basically the reason why you are trying to communicate with this student. And at the moment, there are 6 different reasons why you would. One is an attendance warning, a performance alert, a dismissal due to ethical reasons, failure for attendance participation reasons, return to satisfactory, and rescind dismissal. Now, these different reasons were provided by faculty to us. So that is what we base our programming on. Okay? So for our sample student, let's try to send an attendance warning to that student. So let's pick the first one. So in the system, there are 3 required fields. The last date attended, the course performance action, which is that pull down, and then the confirm checkbox here at the end. The last date attended, if you don't have it, like the student never attended any class, you can put NA, and then the system will understand what you mean. But for our demo here, let's put a date, and let's also put a number of excused absences. So say I put 3, and I put, say, that spring, so say February 2. And let's put a comment, any comment, say you have Pardon my typing. Seated. So something like that. So after that, you need to click the checkbox here to say, yeah, I really do want to send a notification to this student. And then at the bottom of the screen, click the submit button to say I'm done. Where is the, okay? So you're pretty much done processing that student. Now for purposes of demo, I made the email go to myself and not to anybody else because we don't want to panic any student or any recipient that, hey, you have an attendance warning. So I made it go to myself, and this is what the email looks like. Note that as soon as you hit submit, the email shoots out. So what do we have on this email? At the top, it tells you what kind of notification that is. So it was an attendance warning, the date today, the name of the student, the address of the student, his curriculum, his ID, the course, the section, and the last date attended. Note that you didn't provide a lot of these information when you filled it out in MTS. That's because the program can retrieve the student's data from Banner, because the program resides in the same environment as Banner. So there's no need to make the faculty pick up all that information. Also here, so there you have the salutation, dear, the first name of the student. And then you have from the point after the salutation up till just before comments and recommendations. That's a fixed text that the users have provided us for each kind of notification. So depending on the type of notification, this part of the text will always appear.
And we just recently updated the narrative, the text to the students, and this time we used the student focus group because, you know, what we think sounds great and gets their attention may not be so, and we wanted to decrease the delete button. So we had the students actually look at the message and give us feedback. Would you delete it right away? What's the language? And so we took that feedback and revamped our message. And so we'll see if that helps in the reading of it.
Yeah. And now on this section, comments and recommendations, note that it copied the exact comments that you provided on your screen, which is, this one, you have exceeded maximum absences. So whatever you put there is copied verbatim into this section, the comments and the recommendation. And then you have the bottom part of the email. So this section will be the contact information of the faculty who processed the MTS of that student, the contact information of the advisor of the student. Again, this was not provided by the faculty in the screen because the program retrieved the advisor information from Banner. And this is the distribution, the one that Molly was talking about. Upon sending this email, the from will be the faculty, the to will be the student, and then all these departments will be CC'd as appropriate. Like, for example, the Dean of Students gets everything, but the Dean will only apply to, it will only be the Dean that the student, the Dean's office that the student belongs to.
Yeah,
So again, the program figures that out. We have since had some changes recently in that they said, hey, if the student is an athlete, can you send it to the athletics office? We can do that too, so long as the student is properly tagged as an athlete in Banner. So basically, any information we can scrounge from Banner that we don't need to make the faculty provide, the program will pick it up because it communicates with Banner completely. Yes?
And if Banner's upgraded, do you have a lot of work to upgrade MTS?
No, because this happens to be a local program. It uses Banner self-service technology, but whenever Banner gets reinstalled, which is every 5 minutes. This one is not quite affected. That's one of the things why this is a little easier to maintain than a purely baseline system.
So
Now,
what's nice about the distribution list is that student then is getting it from all sides. So it really is the campus coming together with all the different perspectives, because perhaps they're not coming to class or they're coming late because they're up all night, they have a roommate issue. Well, that's the opportunity for residents like to step in and mitigate that issue. The advisor then has all this in front of them when the student comes to them for pre-scheduling or advising. So it actually creates better conversations because the documentation is there in front of you. So I have a much better opportunity to say to the student, you know, I'm hearing your story, but I'm also hearing the stories of everybody else. And, you know, you didn't come to class for the first week. And so it kind of takes away any ambiguity. And then you can really get into the issue of what's going on and have better conversations.
also this demo system is, this demo is from a test system. In reality, this distribution at the bottom, all these folks will come out in the CC of the email. But like I said, in my case, I made it all go to me. So the to would have been the faculty, the from would have been the faculty, the to is the student, and the CC would be everybody down here. So for all intents and purposes, when the student looks at the email, they think it came from the faculty. But actually, kinda. The faculty provided the most vital information, which is the one they inputted in MTS, but everything else the program took care of. Yes? Yes, it does. Yes, it does, because there is a whole boatload of reporting that happens beyond.
So you want me to repeat that? Does the system save this as a history? And yes.
Yes, it does. There is a lot of information stored in the system because it's being reported on. So what this does, this is basically just the front end of the system after the email is sent. And then all this information is stored in the database. So we have weekly reports. I've lost count of how many kinds of reports. There's a report for EOP, there's a report for the Dean's office, there's a report for ResLife, and all that. But it comes from the same source. So you can just report off of it. Also, one other thing, if I may, I have a little more time. If you happen to want to process more than one student at a time, that's perfectly fine. Just do what we did with the other one. Do it with another student. Hit the checkbox button and hit the submit button at the end. So if you process, say, 3 students in one sitting, then 3 emails will shoot out. Okay?
The other thing that it allows you to do is when you get the report and you get to see the big picture across the board, I may see that the student is missing all their classes, but then I may see that they're just missing math and they're doing fine in their other classes. So that tells me the intervention needs to be along getting them into the math tutoring lab or having them talk to the math faculty. So it can really kind of point them into, is it a huge issue or are they just having a problem with that one course? And so you have a better intervention because of those reporting tools.
And one last thing, when I showed you the pull down, there were 6 different options, right? But actually that bursts out into 10 different emails because the users ask for it. The attendance warning has 2 versions of verbiage, one for if the class is online and one if the class is face-to-face. But why does attendance warning appear only once there? Because Banner can tell if that class is online or not. So it doesn't need to make the faculty say, is this an online thing or not? It knows it anyway. That's why there's only 6 options. But there is 10 variations of it. For the attendance warning, there's one for face-to-face, there's one for online. For failure for attendance participation reasons, it bursts even further to 4. 2 for online and 2 for face-to-face, either before the withdrawal date has been reached or not. They wanted the verbiage to be different. And then the last 4 are different.
And with the online, I mean, it's really important, especially the first week of an online class, that students log in. I mean, anecdotally, when I used to teach online, I would notice that the students that would end up with an A in my class always logged in the first day or two. The students that got the B were 3 and 4, and the students that were at risk with the C and D were at the end of the week. So I used the MTS system to send a message to them that you haven't logged in, and da-da-da-da-da. So I think it's really important for the online environment.
And I just want to add too that some users don't want to get every individual email, but they'd rather have, say, a spreadsheet. So the fact that we store the information in history means that we can accommodate those requests. So we'll adjust as the requirement comes up.
I mean, we've been doing this since 2007, so we've matured through the process. We've done reiterations to make it more user-friendly to the faculty. I think we've moved from the conversation of attendance to this is a communication and engagement tool, and that's how we're going to make our retention improve. So we have matured, and the next step that we have is to improve our outreach, because some of the office just outreach versus email, and you know how tough that can be with students as well. So should we be doing different outreaches in different ways, and what's the best practices for each part of the college? So now we're at that point of improving the end part, which is our outreach, and we're going to really dig into that this year, using the retention committee as a launching pad for that discussion.
Well, I think that wraps up my demo. So
We love
if you have any
questions.
questions, Molly will answer them. You mean for the administrative departments, they're CC'd. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh no!
Yeah,
yeah.
everybody knows. And they can't fib about it. Yes, Ryan?
What percentage of your faculty actually?
Yeah, you know, initially when we started MTS and we did some trying to capture how many people were actually using it, I would say it was around 40 to 50%. And so then we reiterated the system and what can we do to make it more user-friendly, because we were hearing that, well, it's not user-friendly and that's why I don't use it. So we've kind of moved through that argument as well. Since we recently revamped some of the narrative, we're going to actually have our IR department do another study of how many faculty are using it. It's a little bit contingent on the curriculum. For example, like veterinary science, those students cannot miss lab or else they will be at risk of not being in that program, and they are very highly motivated kids. We never see MTS notices from that group. But we may get more MTS notices from general science or general business. So we find that with our selective allied health programs, physical therapy, nursing, we don't get these. But we do in general studies and things like that. So it doesn't mean the faculty aren't using it in vet science, they just don't have the need to use it. Oops. Oh, ask us questions. Yes?
How about texting?
Texting.
Sends emails. The future version of thinking about texting.
Well, we're certainly talking about that, but do they even text anymore? They Snapchat. I mean, they're always ahead of us. So, probably by the time we get to texting, they're off. Yes. Institutions move so fast, don't they? But I'm surprised at how many of the students will come to me or call me up and say, I got an MTS warning and I really was in class, and it's more of a panic. So, they are using it more than they say. They just like to tell us they don't use it, but when we actually ask them, we find there's a significant number of students that do. When it's convenient, they're not using it, right? So, is anybody else using something similar to this, a local version at their institution? Oh, you are? Oh, okay. Now, how long have you guys been using it? A couple years now. Mm-hmm. Did you have any faculty pushback on the initial launch of it, or? Oh. Now it looks like it comes from our provost. Oh. They weren't So they were involved in the development of the sequencing, perhaps, and they wanted to be, or they just really didn't want it to come from them? Oh, okay. Yeah. So have you done any like statistical analysis of who's using it broadly over your college yet? Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of third-party software like Starfish, and I know it does more than just early warning, but third-party software is expensive. You know, you're on the update treadmill. We have more control over our updates, and plus it really fits our campus culture, so we can have those conversations versus the third party. So, yes. Well, of course they are. Thank you, Doug Cohen.
Well, no, they rolled it out as an adjunct. We had
Oh.
training on it.
Uh-huh.
And they rolled it out.
Oh, because you teach for Sully Poly.
And then they put it back in and re-released it last year.
And how do you like it?
It works.
Uh-huh.
So by teaching entry level or introduction courses and graduate levels, similar in the introduction courses, I've used it. In the
Yep.
graduate level, I have not.
Yep.
But it's very similar. There's a drop down of about 6 or 7 options.
Mhm.
It does the communication for you.
Mhm.
Very similar to what Tess described.
Mhm.
The administrators are CC'd,
Mhm.
so everyone can see it.
Everybody.
It seems to work very well.
Yeah. So you enjoy it then?
Yeah, the
Mhm.
adoption I think that I've heard though is minimal.
Oh, okay.
They're just getting.
But you're more recent though, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Yes, Ryan.
Use Starfish.
You use Starfish.
Very similar thing, and
Uh-huh.
our problem at the beginning
Oh.
was that faculty said, I don't want it.
Well, he's making me.
So we used Starfish at the beginning. Our faculty were very concerned because they thought that we didn't want them to talk to students anymore, that this would replace that kind of interaction, which of course it's not meant to. It's just meant to paint a broader picture of a student's experience throughout the institution.
Have you moved past that discussion? Or are you
For the most part, but you said you're about 40%. We end up with between 55 and 65% of faculty who fill out our early alert things. So.
goal is to at least get, I would love to see us at 70 or 80%. And I think, I think with the continual discussion of it and continual improvement that we're going to get to more participation because, we have a new provost and his initiative is really focused on retention. So there's a lot more momentum and support and faculty engagement. And I think that's going to improve the use of it. We haven't correlated that to it because it's such a complicated picture when it comes to retention. I mean, it's everything. It's the preparedness of the student coming in. It's the level of rigor in their curriculum. It's their social economic background. We have students that, are an EOP cohort. They're coming with that additional support. So it's really all the intervention strategies that we use as well as a part of that retention. So, we look at our retention efforts all over and say, are we moving the dial? But to tease this one out as causation, I think that would be quite difficult. It's just part of the whole, toolbox of what we use. And I just think it's a great way to talk to your students, to dialogue with them. And I really find by working with my students that they appreciate that relationship and that engagement, even if they come in very resistive to, it's not a discipline, it's about helping them and supporting them, and we're committed when we admit them to helping them succeed. So, and then I get that opportunity to share my enthusiasm and passion for helping them get to where they want to be. And that's always helpful to students when they know you care. Oh, I gotta run this over though.
Do you actually, everybody that gets the message and interacts with the student, do they have a process of documenting what the conversation was or what the next step is?
No, I got one now. What's your name? Simon asked me is there a process of the outreach documenting their conversation? Stop. I can't finish? Ryan, just give me 1 second. We encourage people to document their conversation. There is a comment screen and banner. They can certainly do that. Or just call up the other person, the advisor, and say, I've talked to the student. They're having a problem with their major, blah, blah, blah. So I always document everything. Documenting guru. there I stopped.